Alright, so today we're going to talk about the work breakdown structure, or WBS. This causes a lot of confusion. I guess it's because it looks like such a simple thing, but people underestimate the actual time required to properly create a work breakdown structure. Now, just to get a couple of things out in the open, there is a lot of confusion. If you Google WBS, you'll see a lot of explanations. Some I don't totally agree with, but again, there's no one right answer in life. So, from my point of view, a work breakdown structure explains the project scope. And if you're unsure what the term project scope is, look at the video that says, what does scope mean? And it'll actually delineate project versus product scope. A lot of mistakes occur when people use a work breakdown structure for the product scope. A lot of things you will look at, and I can reference a lot of things that say the work breakdown structure is deliverable based. And this actually came from PMI. In theory, it makes sense. It is deliverable based, but it's all the work required to output those deliverables, not a breakdown of the deliverables themselves. So work breakdown structures have two types, or two forms of elements. They have tasks and they have summaries. And at a high level, you've got what we call the second one, the summary, the category, the work package, whatever you want to call it, but this box houses all the tasks. And then, as soon as you start increasing the detail, you find things emerge. And anything at the lowest level becomes a task. So if you can roll it up to something, that's a category, a summary, a work package. If there's nothing below it, that becomes a task. At a high level, this would be your work breakdown structure. And your work breakdown structure is something that will be progressively elaborated as you go through the project. If you look at the other video on the cycle of scope management, I drew a little graph that illustrated the degree of definition, which in this case it might be the depth of the work breakdown structure versus the effort required to break it down to that level. And what you'll find at different points in the project, you'll need to do different things. So usually the concept phase, you can probably get away with a high level project, with a high level work breakdown structure. However, once you start hitting the planning stage or the development phase, you want to have sufficient depth in here so the work can be done. And a lot of people go and hit implementation with a very loose work breakdown structure, which causes all sorts of issues. If you think about it rationally, we use this as the basis for all our other estimates, time, cost, and so on. So if this hasn't been done in sufficient depth, how can you get an accurate cost or time estimate? Going to semantics a little bit, in terms of categories, they're going to be labelled as nouns. So all the work required in task A. Right? I am so uncreative right now. And this will be a task, so it's going to be a verb, which will be conduct research. So this could have been research. Research actually sounds like a verb, okay, but someone will actually come here and write a comment saying, dude, you must have failed English because your spelling is atrocious and you're unsure as to whether research is a noun or a verb. Hit that up. Anyway, that's off the topic. Sorry to digress. But effectively that's your work breakdown structure in a very simple phase. As you start going through, as I said, moving to the development phase, you will go through and break this down. Okay. So, what about the numbers? A lot of people say, what are these numbers and where are they creeping from? Work breakdown structure, in order to have every task as a unique task, so for example, here I've got the task conduct research. The same task, well, a task by the same name may also need to occur in this aspect. So in order to not duplicate work, often what we do is we assign a unique number to each task. The general convention is by using these numbers. And if you're familiar with numbered bullets in Word and so on, this will make sense. So as you go across, you're increasing the prefix by 1. As you go down, you're increasing the suffix by 1. So I've gone down, and now I'm going across. Yeah. That makes sense? And if I was to go down further, that would be 1.2.1, 1.2.2. And I'll let you figure that one out. Okay? So this task over here would be 2.1.1. So instead of saying conduct research, I'd say look, complete activity 2.1.1, or I could just use that as a reference point. Right? So activity 1.1 here is conduct research, to avoid any duplicity or omission of work. There's a rule in the work breakdown structure that's called the 100% rule. And basically it says that your work breakdown structure should contain 100% of the work required to output the project. That means if you've got a task that nicely fits into 2 or more categories, put it in one. Otherwise you end up with more than 100% of the work. And don't leave stuff out, because when it comes to estimating costs and time, you're not going to estimate it. Question I get asked a lot as well is how far do I go down? I mean, I could break things down to the most insanely small level. I usually say stop when you're confident that the person or resource you're giving the work to is able to replicate what you intended. So if it's specific enough, go with it. Sometimes there's benefits in just leaving things at a high level. You're generally not the technical expert. Sorry to say this, you're probably not the brightest person in the room at doing that job. So maybe if you leave it here and you give the boundaries to the person to use, they can use their own intelligence and define that to you. And if you're happy with it, say yeah, roll with that plan. So hopefully that's addressed most of the questions with the work breakdown structure. This is going to form your schedule, it's going to form your budget, so spend some time with it. And if you do one thing right in your project, make a really strong work breakdown structure. All right. Cool. Questions, comments, as per normal, let me know. Thank you.